Hello, everybody. I can see that we're up to quite a few participants already, and it is 2 minutes past 10. So I think we'll make a start. Welcome to everybody. We're really pleased to be back running our webinars. In general, they're always at 10 o'clock on Thursday mornings. And we're really pleased that this morning we have Councillor Shantanu Rajawat with us to present the Council's budget for the coming year. The amount of money is being bandied about by central government is huge, and we won't know how big the final bill will be until after the crisis is over. But the government is going to certainly have to borrow enormous amounts of money because it's spending more than it is taking in from tax. On the 25th of November, which coincidentally was my birthday, it was estimated that borrowing would be 394 billion for the current financial year. That's April 20 to April 21. That's the highest figure ever seen outside wartime. To put that into context, before the crisis, the government was expecting to borrow about 55 billion for the whole financial year. And now for the local level, COVID has impacted on the public finances with a significant impact on our local economy and the businesses and residents. Unemployment in the borough is increasing, which in turn causes a rise in welfare support. And this is going to continue for quite some time to come. Added to the mix is Brexit, the financial impact of which is unknown to date. But there are some positives. I spoke with Justin Urquhart-Stewart recently, the red-braced financial and investment commentator, and his thoughts are, sorry, my phone is going, so I'll just turn that off. Yes, and his thoughts are, with a new US president and with his eye-watering expenditure package, President Biden will want to kickstart the US economy, and that will be a further boost to the global economy. Take that along with the steady rollout of the vaccines, and that vital word for any economy will start to return, and that word is confidence. So bring that on. I think everybody will agree with that. I think now over to Shantanu for his presentation. Shantanu, do you want to take the screen?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for having me. Just before I do share my screen, I think it's really important to thank you, Sally and Alan, and the Chamber for having me. We were discussing earlier how valuable these sessions have been over the last year, and we spent a lot of time, and I've personally really valued the advice and support that I've received from the Chamber. So thank you to you both personally, and I'm delighted to be on this call today to give a presentation on the council's budget. Just to introduce some of my team on the call, we've got Tom Brooks, who deals with our sort of inward investment. Harminder Prasad, so those of you that apply for grants, her team are process that, and Rupa Ragwani, so the budget coordination Rupa carries out. So key people within my team, and I'm also delighted to be on the call with Ash, who gets to be on a call with the business of the year for this year. It's an amazing privilege for me, and obviously Soraya for her expertise. I really enjoy listening to her at the task force meetings. So with that said, I will share my screen, and hopefully this works. It worked earlier. Where is it gone? Right, hopefully, let's see. Yes, hopefully you can see that. So as I say, I'm Shantanu Rajawat. I'm the Cabinet Member for Finance and Corporate Services at the Council, and I'm also a councillor in Heston West. Our budget setting timetable, I often say, and I've said it often in the task force meetings, the budget setting process seems like a continuous sort of conveyor belt. We set the budget in February, but come March, we start the process again for the next year. But what you'll see on your screen at the moment are sort of key milestones in the timetable. So starting in November with the midterm financial strategy, that gives us an update on how we're getting on with the budget that we set in the February, and also looks forward towards the new budget and any issues, any risks. It makes some assumptions around some of the potential funding we might receive from government or not, as the case may be, and allows a fuller discussion for when we get into the budget. The settlement I will touch on, that normally comes in around December. Once we've got the settlement, we very much start looking at what our budget gap looks like just after Christmas, and if there is a gap in the budget, how we can close that. I've just presented this week the council tax base report that details the calculation that we have to put together of the number of bandy properties that would attract council tax, and on that we make the basis of our calculations and also our collection rate. Our collection rate for council tax generally tends to be very, very good. So thanks to the residents of the borough. February, so next month, I will be presenting the formal budget, and today is part of our engagement on that, and that includes a recommendation on council tax, and that gets approved on the 23rd of February this year. Interestingly, normally it comes before, but part of the council tax bill includes a element that goes to the Mayor of London, and they're agreeing their precept actually after we've set our budget, but we know what they're planning based on the consultation document that the Mayor's put out. So that's just an idea of the timetable, but the conversations go throughout the year, and that includes with businesses through the task force and on a one-to-one basis as well. So I mentioned the midterm financial strategy that was presented in November, and some key points from that. We managed to set a balanced budget, which we're required to do by law for 2021. We actually phased it in such a way that we made some savings, i.e. reductions in service, increase in revenue targets in November 2019 of about 6.1 million and 8.5 million over the full medium term. If we look at the effect of those savings that we've already agreed, we've already made a saving of about 2 million for this year. However, there's no denying that a gap does exist, and that gap primarily is demand related, but there is also an element of COVID that sneaks in there and will do so over a longer term period. But you know, for the purpose of the MTFS, we didn't know the full effect of COVID, so not all the impact is included. And I would say for Hounslow, we dealt with the immediate effect of COVID very well. We're now focused very much on how this is going to pan out financially for us over the longer term. So that table at the bottom just sort of highlights that, starting with an 8.4 gap with a 2 million in-year effect, leaving a gap of 6.4 million pounds that we are working to plug ready for the February budget. Worst case scenario, if we don't, then you see how that builds year on year and becomes a much larger problem. So we're very focused on dealing with that for this year. So some context for you. As I mentioned earlier, the settlement from government generally comes out in December. This year it was slightly delayed. I suppose for my team's purposes, I'm sure for many of you as local business owners, you want a tiny bit of certainty to make your plans for the longer term. I suppose the frustration for us is that the settlement that came through was a 1-year settlement, and it wasn't a full settlement, so there's still details that we are waiting to come through. To a certain degree, in all fairness, I can kind of understand from the government's point of view, it is difficult to plan for. However, we've always argued that local government that has picked up the pieces and done all that it can during the pandemic to support businesses and local residents should be supported in a more sustainable way, and single-year settlements don't help that. So and then there's the impact of COVID, and we know, you know, as local businesses, the impact of COVID on the local economy, on your business, on your ability to trade and do things as you would have done. We've seen a rise in unemployment. You know, whilst yes, Heathrow is a big contributor to that, both because of its direct employment and indirect support. We're seeing it across the borough. It's not just Heathrow. It is, in fact, Alan and I were talking before we started this call about businesses in Chiswick that are suffering in slightly more affluent, as it were, parts of the borough. We've seen a rise in the number of people taking up our council tax and support scheme, which is a scheme that we run as a council to benefit residents who are struggling to pay council tax, and obviously general welfare support, a huge increase in claims on universal credit. Obviously, changes in demand and pressure on our services, and we expect, as I said, that to continue over the medium term. And then with Brexit, as Sally mentioned, we don't know what the implications of Brexit will be, good or bad. So I won't say too much on that, but it is an unknown for us, and that builds into the uncertainty that we've got, that sort of makes all of us a little bit nervous going forward. So in terms of the settlement, you'll see on your screen, I'll let you read it, that there are a number of one-off commitments made by government, which obviously I would never say no to, and we receive very gratefully. However, one-off commitments, again, don't allow us to plan for the long term, and we need some certainty over the long term. In order to make sure that we can continue offering the core services that that residents and businesses find useful. So that is that. Right, so let's look at our expenditure from our general fund. You'll see in there that a single area of expenditure is on children and adult services. Huge demand increase in there, but in environmental services and cultural services, again, big expenditure, and then finance resources with the benefit side added in. That's also a big expenditure, but that just gives you an idea of how we spend the money that comes in. And I've got another slide later on that talks about where our income comes from as well for information. So with all that expenditure, and I said it earlier to you, we are acutely aware that there are pressures within departments, and a lot of them are very much demand-led. So, you know, if you look at this slide, adult social care, children's social care, and support for children who need a little bit more support getting to school in the homeschool transport. Those are big areas where you're seeing large overspends that contribute towards that £6 million gap. We are fairly confident. We've done a lot of work with my colleagues in the departments around why this is, and we're fairly confident that a lot of this is around the complexity and the increase in demand, and they need to be managed actively. Again, we would always call for proper funding of these from government to help us, but we have to manage these as best as possible. And then in housing, waste, planning and development, and community safety, again, I would say a lot of this is down to COVID, some of these demands. But again, in the case of housing, you've got pressures based around demand as well. So looking at some other pressures, obviously this talks to COVID. Looking at the amount that we spent on COVID, you'll recall that government said to local councils, do whatever you can, and we will reimburse you. Well, we've spent about 20 million approximately on COVID-related pressures. We've not received all of that back, so we call on government again to reimburse us. But we have had other specific grants as detailed on this slide, and obviously the one that would you would note as businesses is the 56 million pounds worth of business rates relief that hopefully many of you have benefited from, and then the business grants as well. So then we look at our income. Obviously, grants is a massive part of our income, and that's been reducing over the years. But you'll also see that business rates and council tax account for a large proportion of that as well. So we're very acutely aware that a drop in council tax or businesses not being successful fundamentally impacts us in the council in terms of our income as well. So we want to do all that we can to try and support you. I'm going to skip over the council tax because most of you will know what council tax is. So let's talk a little bit about business rates. Obviously, the income from business rates are collected by us as a council, and then we pool it across London, and then it's redistributed as a percentage share by central government. Over the last few years, we've been part of a pool for London, which has enabled us to retain more of the business rate growth to invest locally. And that's been really successful over the last few years in some good projects, things like skills escalators, broadband connectivity. In the current year, the volatility continues in terms of developments and appeals and empty property and other release. And that pooling arrangement has helped share the risk and reward for us across London. However, what we're aware of, acutely aware of, is that pooling will probably come to an end in this year because of COVID and the impact it's had on many boroughs across London and their ability to raise business rates. And the arrangement that we've got on pooling means that if one borough drops out, then the scheme comes to an end, which is a bit of a shame. But as I say, the business rates you pay are a key income stream for us that we invest back to you. And I would say the key point on this slide is the announcement for any supports, ongoing support for businesses into 21-22. And we've not had an announcement on any support apart from the most recent grant that the Chancellor announced when we went into lockdown. And we're not sure what the government is thinking about the business rates retail discount and whether they're continuing that onwards. But certainly working with the MPs, the two MPs in Hounslow, we are really pushing for that to be continued as well.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Councillor Rajawat,
sorry.
but there's somebody talking in the background on the phone, and it's very distracting to hear what you're saying. If you could,
okay.
I'm not sure who's got their speaker on. If they could put themselves on mute so we can hear Councillor Rajawat properly, it would be very good. Thank you.
I've got a feeling it's the person that I'm sat with. Hold on a second. Sorry, this is what happens when you're working off a dining table.
Okay, we all have to suffer that one as well.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. It should be over fairly soon. Right. Sorry, let me just get myself. So during 2020, just a little bit about the support that you're aware of. So we've been providing certain reliefs on the account, enabling some businesses to qualify for 100% relief. So from March 2020 to date, 4,295 business owners have received relief on their business rates liability. And in Hounslow, we have about 7,500 businesses on our register, and the range of reliefs that are available you can see on your screen. Regrettably, that bottom point is quite poignant for me anyway. Since March 2020, certainly according to our records, we can see about 923 businesses have closed. Obviously, we're not sure whether that's a direct result of the pandemic, but as far as I'm concerned, that's quite a high number, and we regret any business that closes in the borough. So this slide just details sort of what we've paid out since from March to September, both in terms of the mandatory grant funding and the discretionary grant, and the number of grants actually paid. Obviously, you as businesses will be aware that there are a number of grants. Now, I will say, I found them quite confusing, and I appreciate that government had to put these together quite quickly. So they were always going to be slightly confusing. So if businesses are considering applying, and I would encourage you to do so, please do go onto the Hounslow website. There is policy there that we are now trying to simplify it and make easier to understand. But certainly businesses are I'm very happy to put businesses in contact with technical experts in the council should advice be needed as well. So then we look to recovery, and I'm almost at the end. I'm keen to hear from all of you. Obviously, recovery is such a key thing for us. We really need to bounce back and bounce back strongly, especially considering Heathrow will take quite some time to improve, and actually it's really important for businesses across the borough that as a council we are doing all that we can to support a recovery from COVID, and we've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and we've got 4 themes. So the business focus theme is renewing local economies, and that's about welcoming higher value jobs into the borough, stimulating a green economic growth, which I think is really important and is on the agenda for many, and working better with the business community and creating a business-friendly borough. Support for small businesses, and that's not just about the financial support, that's about supporting you with skills, with training, with anything else that we can do as a council, using our resources to help you. And there is an economic development recovery strategy that is coming soon, so keep a lookout from that. I'd be really pleased to get feedback on that from business when that comes out. And then talking to that support, we released a toolkit for businesses, and so 700 businesses were supported to reopen safely following the lockdowns, and we partnered with the Chamber and the Safer Business Hounslow, and there were a range of support measures that you can see on your screen there that we offered. And I think, okay, and just for information, obviously we have a capital program which is very, very large. I suppose the thing I would say here is that one of the things that I'm really pushing is we've changed our procurement processes to try and encourage local businesses. The idea of the Hounslow pound is very, very important to me and to us as a council, because a pound spent in Hounslow circulates a number of times and is to the benefit of the local economy. And so for us as a council, changing our procurement process to help local businesses has been really, really important. That's something that we've introduced. So I would encourage any business that is considering doing business with the council or any council across London to register with the London Tenders website, so that you're notified of any opportunities that may arise. And I think, yeah, that is me at the end. So back to you, Sally.
Thank you very much indeed. And firstly, well done for making savings. It is, yeah, but we've got huge one-off. That's, you know, the plan. Then very heavily on that one. Right, we next have Ash Sanjenbam of Woodnet Lifestyles Ltd, and Ash also runs Kingfisher Security, Kingfisher Sec, and he, under Woodnet Lifestyles, was the winner of the Best Business Award in the 2019-2020 Business Awards. So basically, Ash pivoted his business and started a new business supplying sanitiser stations. So Ash, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you did that, please?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Sally, and the Hounslow Chamber of Commerce, and good morning to all the panelists and everyone here at the call. Thank you for having me here today. I'm invited to speak a little bit about how we diversified into a completely different business during the pandemic. Our business, Woodnet Lifestyles, seller of semi-pro stations, was established last year, only in May. And as a profession, my background is from the private security sector, and I've been running an established security guarding company called Kingfisher SEC. We've been operating locally in West London for over 12 years. The security business took a massive hit during the pandemic, as majority of the revenue we generate comes from the summer festivals and events. So at the beginning of the first lockdown during March and April last year, we took the initiative to see what business ideas we could convert into a business that would compensate the loss of income from our existing security business, but at the same time that also had the legs to grow as a sustainable business for the future. So some of the areas and factors we considered were selection of the right products to sell, market assessment, and analyzing demand of such products in the current climate, and then finding the right partner. Luckily for us, we had already an established existing partner. So in our case, was the manufacturer of sanitizing stations. We then also had to build new relationship with logistic partners, an area which I personally didn't have any experience in, but with a new business that was required. So these included transportation, warehousing, delivery, and distribution. Then finally was the pricing of the products. As Kingfisher, we sell services. With Woodnet sanitizing station, we had to price up a product, so we had to get it right. Our prices were not the cheapest, but at the same time, not the most expensive. So we focused not just on the functionality of the product, but also on the convenience for our customer, and most importantly, the after-sale customer care. Once the pricing was done, we then engaged a marketing partner to launch, share our story, and promote the products online, back with multiple social media activities. There were some of the steps that we took, and today this business has put us on an e-commerce presence and has enabled us to reach out to a wider business sectors, such as the heritage sector, the education, the sporting, and the workspace sectors. So as of 2021, Woodnet is now in the process of scaling the business and sourcing new lifestyle products to sell on our already established online platform. Whilst the sanitizing business was at the growth stage and developing last year, we could not forget Kingfisher SEC, and more importantly, its staff that were equally impacted. So we took the decision to protect all our existing employees' work at the time, and even managed to diversify slightly from a normal security roles from some of our staff that would do normal security guarding to providing business support advisor roles under the Safer Business Hounslow initiative, providing vital COVID safety information and guidance for retailers in our borough's high street. And this was the journey for both the businesses during 2020. And I have to say it had many challenges, but we overcame with it. Most importantly, I think I should add that on a very positive note, that the Hounslow Council and our local chamber, they've been doing a fantastic job in supporting so many businesses since the first lockdown. And on a personal note, I can say that the new trend of moving into online virtual meetings, webinars, events has had such a massive impact and ease of reaching out to many businesses and building new contacts, both in the public and the private sector. So a huge congratulations to the team behind at the council and the Chamber of Commerce for keeping us all well informed, safe, and I like to say a secured borough. So to everyone, please stay safe, stay positive, and I'll pass it back on to Sally. Thank you. Sorry, Sally?
Very much, Ash. Thank yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you. Then I go back to the office and I scurry off and I get those introductions made. So please follow Ash's example. That's how to use your Chamber of Commerce to its best dividend. Now we have Ray Lavery from CPG, business advisor, and CPG are running some business support webinars and programs. So please, Ray, do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you again to the council and, of course, to Hounslow Chamber for having us here. We are big fans of the chamber. What we are doing at the moment is that we have just been tasked with providing a very quick but very intensive 3-month business support program for Hounslow. And it's a full packed program, and we've put as much as we can in there, and our aim is to help as many businesses as we can. Now, this is businesses, however, we can also any other type of business as well. So if you are struggling in your business, if you need a little bit more support, then please do sign up for the program, and I will give you the link here, and I'll also put it in the chat box as well. So the purpose of this is obviously because we've been in one lockdown after another, and as you know, everybody has said so far, I don't really want to sort of rehash that, but you know, we're all struggling a little bit. There's a lot of change going on, and so it's very important that at this time that you have the support that you actually need to help you either move your business forward or change your business if that's absolutely necessary to get what it is that you need. So what we're doing is we have, like I said, it's a full-on program. We are doing lots of regular events. We've already run a few of these events, and we've re-recorded them. So if you want to go back and have a look at them, you can. They're on our website. Again, I'll give you the link for that. So we've lots of events. They're covering marketing, they're covering grants, they're covering finances. We have business clinics, we have power networking, we have a bunch of different things there. But everything is based around what it is that you actually need, and what we've seen from the feedback that we've got from you guys over the last number of months. So we have those events. We also have an online platform. And this is particularly useful. It's useful for anybody, but it's particularly useful for those of you who are in retail. But there's lots of stuff on there for those of you who are in other types of businesses as well. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to do a growth plan, so that you can, I guess, decide what it is that you want to work on in your business. And then there's lots of training and lots of sort of how to do it, and lots of tips and things like that that are on that website, which is the Joe training platform, which we have done with Save the High Street, who are working with us on this particular program. So you get that is free to absolutely everybody. And what we're also doing is we have a number of one-to-one sessions. So if you are struggling with something in particular, we have a series of different experts that can help you across marketing, legal, finance, strategy, sales, all of the normal things that you would expect. And so if you're struggling with that, you can apply for a one-to-one session, and we'll work with you specifically on your business to get you over whatever challenge it is that you are actually facing. So there's lots of stuff going on here, and it's available to you 24/7. If you want to sign up to that, it's www.mygrowthpod.com/Hounslow. So mygrowthpod.com/Hounslow. Sign up there. We'll keep you up to date with what it is that's going on. Also, you'll hear about it from the Chamber as well, because we're working very closely with the Chamber. In fact, the Chamber are helping us with this. So thank you again, Sally and Alan, for that. And so please do come on to that. We've had a really good response so far, but we've plenty of room for other people. And so it's only running until the end of March. So if you want to get in, you need to get in quickly. Our next event is happening next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is a business clinic. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk to you about sort of the funding that's available. You can deal with like grants and all of that kind of thing. And what we'll also do as well is we have a number of experts who will be able to give you a speed mentoring session. So if you go onto the link, and again, I'll put the link in the chat as well, and sign up for that program, you can choose from an expert to actually have a speed mentoring session. So if you have a quick question on something in particular, then they can help you out on that. We have it on technology, import, export, sales and marketing, SEO, finance, it's all there. So I'll put that link in there. keep an eye for the emails that are coming out from both the Chamber and from us to keep you up to date as to what's going on, because there's going to be plenty in there and we want to make sure that you don't miss anything. But just to state again that we do record our events, and so if you want to catch up on something, you missed it or you weren't able to make a time, you can go onto the platform and you can access it from there. So there you are, mygrowthpod.com/Hounslow. We'd love to see you there. And that's pretty much all I had to say. So thank you very much. And I guess back to Sally.
Thank you very much indeed, Ray. Thank you. Yes, we will be promoting the event on the 27th later on today, I'm thinking. So excellent. Now, last but very much not least is Alan Rides, our MD. Alan, over to you for a few words.
Thank you very much, Sally. Good morning, everybody. First of all, Councillor Rajawat, how on earth do you manage to balance a budget in today's world of what's going on outside? We're very grateful for what you do and what your team do across the borough. And we look forward to all working closely with you to try and help our borough recover to the former status that it was only a year ago. And looking forward on a timeline, perhaps with the vaccinations all being rolled out and people talking about booking holidays later this year. Do you share the optimism that we'll start to see a recovery in the second half of this year, not just in business and the general economy, but potentially with the vaccine rollout in the high street, Heathrow through holidays and people travelling again, and general commerce? Over to you, Councillor Rajawat.
Sorry, Alan. Sorry. The person speaking in the background has also disappeared, which is great. So
What did you do? You asserted some authority.
I have my means. I have my means. I'm really hopeful. I am optimistic. I think the vaccine rollout is a really positive step, not only in terms of what it means for people and the COVID virus itself, but also around reassuring the public, that it is about time that we start moving forward. Economically, we need that. I suppose for us, in one respect, without wanting to sound too pessimistic, we've learned a lot during COVID, not only in terms of our interactions with business and how business operates, but also along the community sector, how residents react to things. And so we've got lots of toolkits, but I suppose from us as a council, one of the key things that we now talk about is our relationship and the way we communicate with, say, businesses or communities or residents. I think if it's safe to do so, yes, please do fly out of Heathrow. It helps us in the long run. But beyond that, we're looking at innovative ways of sort of cushioning for a Heathrow that might take slightly longer to recover.
So one of the other things that came out at the beginning of the lockdown is the government introduced legislation that allowed companies and staff to take their holidays from this year over to next year or the year afterwards. A wonderful example, and a very bad example actually, is our own Sally Smith, who only managed to take 6.5 days holiday from last year. That equates to taking nearly 20 days over to this year, which added on to this year's holiday entitlement, gives her about 3 months holiday for the year. And if that gets rolled out through the entire borough, we're going to see a quarter of the workforce of Hounslow Borough on holiday this year. And where on earth are they going to go?
And also, who's going to get the work done when they're all on holiday? So it ain't going to happen.
We'll all be on holiday. It's okay.
Power of Zoom. The power of Zoom. Welcome anywhere, Sally. But you deserve it, yeah.
Yes, it is a tricky one. Yeah. So as I think, any small company is just not going to take it because it's not going to happen. Because the company will suffer, and we're all working so hard running small companies to keep them going.
That's why the holiday entitlement you could carry over from last year is spread over the next 2 years, so it's not impacting on 1 year.
Yeah.
But it does mean that people will look, if they haven't spent money on holidays last year, they haven't spent money on going out to the theatre and dining out, going to the pub, they've all been locked indoors. A lot of people have actually, who aren't so much in business, but people who've been furloughed and people at home tend to have not an unreasonable amount of money still left in their piggy bank. And that could be something that could be spread out. And we really want to encourage them to spend that Hounslow pound. I love the phrase, in Hounslow, shop local, spend local, be local.
Absolutely.
And also spend your holidays in Hounslow. We have the more brown sites than I think any other London borough. They've got a huge number of tourist attractions in the borough. So, you know, don't just see it as a route to Heathrow. I think people should stop off and explore.
I can almost hear Sally mentioning the fact that Hounslow Chamber of Commerce website has got a tourism page on it.
I'm leaving that to you, Alan. Right. We've had a few questions in the as people sort of joined. Shantanu, can you just tell us, you'd mentioned this discretionary fund. Where are we with that? I mean, it's not all been allocated, has it? I mean, how do people apply? I mean, I know I have been sending links out, but I don't think it hurts to reinforce. So what do they have to do?
So yes, so the earlier discretionary that was referenced on the slide is now closed, but there is another version of the discretionary grant. It's called the ARG grant, and the specific guidance on that is on the Hounslow website. So when you go onto the webpage and you're on the homepage, you'll see a link to coronavirus support. Within that, there is a page specifically for businesses and guidance for the policy on that and all of the grants that the government offer during restriction periods. We are waiting on guidance to come through for the most recent announcement that Rishi Sunak made for the £9,000 headline figure. So that is due out imminently, and as soon as that is out, we will implement it and start putting that out to businesses through our mailing list. What I would say is the restriction period grants, so the local restriction support grant and the alternative restriction grant, I found very, very confusing. So I have charged officers with going away and looking at how you can simplify the policy as much as possible to make it easy for business to digest and understand, and make the application process as simple as possible so that businesses don't have to continuously reapply. So we hopefully will be in a position to say at some point in the next few weeks, if you've had a grant previously, we will email you to say, look, are your circumstances the same? Are the bank details the same? You will be receiving this grant at this date. Please, can you let us know? And within that, we will carry on doing the checks in the background around the viability of the business.
Brilliant. It would be great to have those links because, as you know, I send out a daily update. And some people, they sort of, it's their sort of Bible that they read our missives and they take the information from that. So links to all these grants would be brilliant.
Yeah.
Maybe Tom could help with that. I'm talking to you, Tom. I'm going to wave to you. Okie dokie. We then, yes, this has been a problem all the way through. Those in serviced offices, so they don't pay business rates. For example, there's a retail shop within GSK House, and I think the owner is on the call today. You know, that they're suffering because they don't have the business rate number that they need. So is there any way that they can be helped?
Yes, again, so most relevant at the moment is the ARG grant. That'll be the one that they will need to apply for, because whilst there is an element within that that talks about rateable value and that code that you mentioned, Sally, the discretionary part of that allows us to look at cases where there isn't that present, but there is a clear indication that the business has had a reduction in income. And again, that's detailed. So I'll send you out the link to that. But what I would say, as I mentioned during the presentation, I appreciate for a lot of smaller businesses like the one that you're mentioning, not only is it the day job, but having to find all this information and get support is quite difficult. So if they want to contact me directly, they're more than welcome to email me, and I can put them in touch with an officer who will contact them and just talk them through the process. We're very happy to do that to support them.
Yes, I do just want to endorse that, because I have, every time I email Councillor Rajawat with queries, he comes back instantly. So please, do go direct to him or come to the chamber, and we will forward on your queries. There's also,
Sally,
yes,
can I add a point onto that answer that Councillor Rajawat so kindly answered? We were co-signatories in a letter recently that went to Rishi Sunak, as local chambers of commerce across London, asking for assistance in basically 3 business groups who have been missed out for any benefits so far. The first business group were ones who operate from a premises that is in effect something that they rent, but is inclusive of their business rates in total for a bigger entity. So they don't get any assistance there. The other group is small businesses whose directors are paid in full or in large part by dividends. And the last one, and this is the most populous one in our borough, self-employed sole traders who run a business but account for it all on their own savings. And none of these people have had any benefits at all, and they account for largely the majority of business owners and business people across the spectrum. So is there any assistance or guidance you can give for how these people can log in and plug into any benefits that are out there?
Yeah, and it's a good point, Alan. I'm glad you reminded me of it, because I've been very conscious of that. In particular, the last group that you've mentioned, because they often appear in my inbox. And so, in discussions with officers, every time there is a discretionary element to any grant that is available, my first question is, well, how can we support them? So again, without wanting to sound like a broken record, the ARG grant for the current element is the place to look for those 3 groups that you kind of mentioned, and I think the discretionary element should allow them to get some support. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to be a huge amount, because the pot of money that we were given was comparatively small, but it also had to last us till March, and wouldn't be renewed at that point, potentially, unless the Chancellor changes his mind. So we are, it is comparatively smaller amounts than perhaps people would be expecting, but it is something which is better than nothing. So yeah, we're trying to support wherever we can.
Whose phrase is that? Every little counts.
Isn't it Tesco?
Yes, I know.
Yes, okay. I'm sorry, Ash and Ray, do you want to turn your cameras on? Because I'd like your sort of input a little as well, please. Right, there's been a suggestion that the furlough scheme be extended until July. Does anybody know anything about this? I know it's been extended now until April.
I only know about the April, to be honest with you, but these things change on a very regular basis. I guess it will depend how well the vaccination program goes, but I could imagine that we're going to see extended, particularly with these new strains. And now that the South African one is not working as well with the vaccine, that it's likely that lockdowns will continue in one form or another until they kind of correct that. So I haven't heard anything officially, but just I guess common sense would tell you that it probably will continue.
Okay, thank you for that. Shantanu, you've turned your camera off. I'd love to see your face as well, please. Because there's somebody's asked a question about business rates. Is it able to have another 12 months business rates with widened eligibility? Now, is this a local government thing or a central government thing?
Sorry, Sally, would you mind repeating the question? Sorry.
Business rates, another business rates holiday to be extended with widened eligibility. So
if the business rate holiday were to be extended, that would be a national policy. I know that the 2 MPs have been lobbying quite hard for that, just because it gives businesses some well, not certainty is probably the wrong word, but it gives you an understanding of how the world is going to look. But yeah, that's a lobbying task for the MPs, and something that perhaps they, you, and I can perhaps do another joint letter for. I think.
Yes,
I think that the merits are there for it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan to do. Also, there's been much talk recently about people who have to isolate. How those who have to work and then they have to isolate, how can they be helped financially? Any thoughts on that?
So the government have a grant for those who have to isolate and therefore cannot work, and it's through the test and trace system. So I think once you're pinged by test and trace and told to isolate, assuming that you can't work from home, then there is a support payment, and it's £500 from the top of my head. In fact, yeah, it definitely is £500, and there is an application process that you need to go through that is administered by Harminder's team. In fact, would you mind if I bring in Harminder, because she probably knows better about it than I do?
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Are you there, Harminder?
Do you want to turn your camera on? Are you able to do that for her, Lisa? Are you?
Hello. Hi. Harminder speaking. I'm sorry, I haven't got the facility. Oh, there we go. I've got a message to start my video. I don't know if you can see me now.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, I'm Harminder Prasad, and yes, I oversee the business grants and the test and trace grant as well. We do have online applications. We are being inundated with the number of applications at the moment, but we've got additional resource and we're going through that. There's a mandatory scheme as outlined by government, and we have a discretionary scheme as well. We've widened the scope of our discretionary scheme so that we can help more people. In addition to this, we have several other grants as well to help people who are impacted by COVID. It's the Emergency Assistance Grant and Essential Supplies. And this again is online, and we can help those who have a situation where they're on a particular crisis purely due to COVID. We also do discretionary welfare payments as well. So there's a number of grants that we do provide to our residents, and they're all online. And normally if you go on our webpage under coronavirus, you should be able to pick up the relevant links. I don't know if there were any other questions on that, Sally, that I can clarify.
No, that was the only one that we had. Oh, there is something, but I'm not sure whether this is your jurisdiction. There's been a suggestion working closely with business to accelerate the rollout of vaccines. The council has been working with business. I do know this regarding asymptomatic testing. Did you have any knowledge on this? Or not really?
Not directly, but I am aware that we will be doing that, but I haven't got direct connection with that aspect of it.
I'm going to do a shameless plug for the Chamber. We're actually holding an event on this coming Monday at 11 o'clock. So a bit of a discrepancy in time there. Monday, the 25th of January at 11 o'clock. And we're on health and safety. Sort of basically a webinar, getting back to the basics. And we're really pleased. We're going to have Kelly O'Neill, the head of public health, with us. So we'll be able to talk all this through on Monday. And I'm hoping to get somebody from Westmid Hospital as well. Okay, we've got 5 minutes to go. So I would like the panelists to give if they could give one wish to Shantanu, what would that wish be regarding the council budget? Alan, do you want to lead?
Whoa, Tinkerbells. First a wish on Councillor Rajawat. I wish that you can get more money from central government to spend wisely in our borough. Ka-ching!
Well done. Ash, as a business person, what are your thoughts?
Yes, so back to Shantanu. All I can say is keep this communication more clearly. Let small businesses like ourselves be able to reach out more effectively. and pass on those information and available, and also reactiveness from the council to help us small businesses if we are inquiring for any sort of support. So that would be the last thing I think I'll feed in for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray?
Yes, yes, indeed. So for me, I would like to mirror everything everybody has already said, actually, because they were very good wishes. And I know there was something put in the chat about that, but yes, something that will deal with people who don't have property, who are business owners. There's a lot of people stuck between a rock and a hard place there. So if there was something that could be done for that, that would be amazing. But I appreciate it's a very difficult one. But there, the majority of people we get coming through are asking about that. So that would be my wish.
Yes, I endorse that they're the majority of my queries as well. Alan, we've got, we're 10:56. I think we're virtually there. Do you want to say anything else, Alan?
What, me again? You're going to finish off with
No,
me?
you
Gracious
can
me. I'm
do
doing well
some
this
wrap
morning. I get a double whammy at Councillor Rajawat. What can I say? We've suddenly realised that Heathrow Airport is such a vital employer in our borough, more than we ever did realise before. And what can we all do to either try and get the reliance away from a single point employer, or get right behind Heathrow Airport and help them get back to the position that they were and have the prosperity back into our borough?
Well, that's to be honest, Alan, I
thought about that question then, didn't I?
Yeah, you really did. You really did. Absolutely. It's a good question. I mean, Heathrow presents such a massive opportunity. In many respects, actually, you want the best of both. You want a very successful Heathrow, but actually, you also want successful town centres, be they Hounslow, Chiswick, Feltham, but also the smaller village centres, Isleworth, Heston. You want them to be thriving as well for the local economy. There are obviously concerns around Heathrow and the environmental impact, and some of the green work that we're doing. And we had early conversations with Heathrow, and they seem quite on board with having that conversation around what our green recovery actually looks like, and what the green economy looks like, and how they can sort of feed into that. So it's a little bit about the smaller sort of independent traders across the borough. It's about being a place that the larger organizations feel like they want to invest in, and offices as well. We've got GSK, we've got Sky. These are big anchor employers within the borough, and we encourage them as much as possible to employ people from within the borough, because that's also really, really important.
Do you see that those major employers here are here in this part of West London, though, because of the proximity between Heathrow and the city?
Oh, absolutely. There's no denying that, and that's what makes it so attractive. And that proximity, because we're such a long borough, actually doesn't make a difference whether you're in Brentford or Feltham or Chiswick. That connectivity is so important, and so key. So that's a big draw for us, to big business anyway, coming into the borough.
So hoping that carbon neutral world can roll itself forward with the Biden administration coming back into the Paris Climate Accord, that the people that manufacture aero engines will actually be able to be forced into applying the development into new engines that I understand are being tested on aircraft now, which will be carbon neutral, which would utterly transform the concept of flying, of airports being pollutant areas. It's not the airports that pollute, it's the aircraft engines ultimately. And if that can be a stepping stone into this, then we'll be in a blue sky zone.
I think at the moment we have to cling to the positives, and I think President Biden is one of those positives. So I think on that note, we will wrap up. Thank you very much, everybody, especially Councillor Rajawat for his time. Thank you so much to Ray Lavery and to Ash and to Alan. and to Lisa behind the scenes, and to all the council people. Thank you very much indeed, and keep safe.
And well done, Sally. Thank you.
Thanks ever so. Take care.
Well done, Sally.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.